Welcome back. Now we'll go straight into the topic of discussion, which is on matters arising and recent developments in the state of the nation, including recent appointments by the president and some decisions he has made and how it's affecting Nigerians on the average. I'm joined now by Mr. Duke Alamboye. He's the National Coordinator, Green Assembly Initiative. He joins me now to do justice to the matter. Good afternoon and welcome.
Thank you very much for having me once more.
Yeah. It's good to have you back.
It's a pleasure, yeah.
All right, so let's start with, President Tinubu's latest action, within the course of about 2 weeks or so, there's been a number of decisions made, policies enacted, and so on and so forth. So the latest of which are his recent appointments along the security corridor. We have the service chiefs, the IGP, customs, and some other military positions. How do you see those appointments? Is there anything to commend or otherwise comment on there?
Well, first of all, I want to appreciate the present administration. I think they are doing very well in terms of the president and the cabinet. They are doing a little bit very well, because what we anticipated was not what we're seeing. We are seeing the president swinging into actions. Seemingly, we're perceiving the president being acquainted, really knowing what the people want. We're seeing the president pursuing that overwhelming negative perception about him. We're seeing the president acting without talking much, without bragging much, but we're seeing actions going on. First of all, we've seen the student loan come up. We've seen other what they call actions taken. The Senate presidency, as tough as we thought it would be and all of that, it has come each free and the country is stable. And one of the things we worried much in the past administration was the ability to carry everybody along, inclusivity. We saw one lopsided appointments, mostly at the security level. One would have thought that maybe it was because of the restiveness in the northern part of the country. Today we've seen the president retired all of them. They've tried their best. We want to thank them for what they've done recently in the life of Nigeria for the past 8 years. And today we've seen the president appoint service chiefs. And what complaint was this change had come up. We see today that almost apart from the North Central, we've seen the service chiefs spread around the country. We've seen one from the South, we've seen one from the Southwest, we've seen one from the South, two from the Southwest, one from the Southeast, and I think two from Northwest, and one from Northeast. That is the NSA. So we living in the North Central. I'm sure we all know that the North Central is having the Secretary to the Federation. So we've seen a government, even just at its best, within the few appointments and a few days in office, we've seen the federal government positioning itself to the tune and the desire of Nigerians. So the appointment is loud, the appointment is apt, and we think that what is remaining is for them to collectively put themselves together and see how they can solve the issue of insecurity in our country. Presently, insecurity escalated in the country. It was not only in the north or south. Again, it found itself around the country. So everywhere have issues to settle. Today we have a security man from the east, the south, the west, the north, central, and all of that, so that the issue of insecurity can be discussed holistically as a nation. So this is the direction I really want them to go. But for the appointment, I think the government, I'm giving the government 90/100 for the performance they've shown now. And they are very vibrant and very intelligent officers that have manned the position. We think that they're going to do the best with the zeal and, first, the government is coming into solving insecurity issues. We want to see them come up with that gallant nature and solve Nigerian insecurity issues.
All right, so that's fair enough. There are some comments that the names on the list lean a little bit or contain majorly, persons from the Southwest. Do you think that is an issue, or is still balanced enough? And then on the other hand, the issue of timeline, it was still under or just over 2 weeks. Based on the appointments we've seen, do you think it's a is following a reasonable timeline, or do you think by now we should have seen the whole cabinet already?
Well, slow and steady wins the race, they say. I'm not faulting. I've not seen anywhere he has erred. There's no stipulated days, but as quick as Nigerians will want to see these things come up as fast as they want it to look, the government is also positioning itself to get the best out of it. One thing that is predominantly I see they are checking is how to carry everybody along at every strata, and that is happening. I don't want to believe that the appointment of security chiefs is lopsided. It's not. It's quite balanced, and that is why you see the northwest is having 2, the southeast is having 2, and then the rest are having it. Apart from the north central, which I think the Secretary General of the Federation is already positioned as a big boss there to have that position. So I'm not going to fault, and nobody, any reasonable Nigerian should not fault that disposition, that positions we've seen them handle. The government has critically looked into that and given us that character, that national character effect we want from appointments. Now, what is remaining is now the executive arm. I also like the principle. They've dissolved most of the parastatals, and that is to show you that before they want to appoint ministers, they want to see that they are sweeping the entire system and act like when they ask a question like, where are we going in Nigeria? What do we have? So before we know where we are going, we should put on board what we have. So everybody should keep clear. That is one thing we expected the administration that just left, that's the Muhammad Buhari's administration. We expected this sort of changes in the cycle, so that there is no form of antagonism, there is no form of sabotage in the government. So we see the government sweeping and packing, and rearranging the house, and that is the best thing to do. Nigerians should not put them in a hurry. We should allow the pace they are going. Is not too bad. What is remaining now is the NDAs and the parastatals that are open now. We will now see very effective appointments in those positions. People that are very dedicated. If you look at the services, fantastic. They all have their records intact. So I think this is the way to go. Bringing on board the likes of Ribado, very fantastic. I want to see somebody like Al Mustafa on the board play also very important role in the life of this administration in terms of security. Those are very intelligent officers that I think that when they are considered or when they are consulted, they can do far better. Ribado's bringing back Ribado to this time where insecurity is seriously at its affairs. Corruption is reeling very well in the lives of Nigerians. These men are people with integrity. They have their records, and Manning, I think, is national security advisor, is one that is going to control and act with in accordance with the security chiefs. Is going to keep them also sit on their toes, and they are going to deliberately pursue the cause of security issues in our country. So
just quickly about No Ribadu.
Yes.
Do you think his experience in police and also EFCC is enough to really handle this particular position?
Yeah, there's one thing. He has the experience, and now he has the observation. He has been in power. He had run security issues in the country. It doesn't matter what quarter. There was no time he was supposed to be in all the stratas or in all the security agencies. He was somewhere, and he performed very well to the satisfaction of Nigerians. And again, after having done that, he has also stepped aside. He has also studied from far and near what the security situation is in our country. So he has danced. He has stayed out of the stage to see people dance, and he knows the effect and efficiency of what is supposed to be put on board for us to have a befitting security outfit that will fight this menace we have in our country. So I think the experience is there, and then the outlook is also there. So what he needs to do now is to put to practice what he experienced last time and what he has seen that is playing into practice, and carrying all the other the other agencies, security agencies along to ensure that we have a total wipe off of this menace in terms of insecurity in our society. So I think they are going to do the best. I want to gratefully thank the president for this outlook and this picture that is given. People have really undermined his competence, and he's really showing to full capacity that he's in charge. He has promised that he's going to be in charge. He's going to bring back our country. We are looking forward to see once the executive is formed. That's when we know that government is set to kick. So, but you can see that the sweeping around, the cleaning of government positions is taking place, and as they clean, they put in more fresh air fresheners to the system, and I think that will give us a good fragrance for growth, development, and what have you.
All right, that's fair enough.
Yeah,
I know you're with you know, the you can speak for the CSOs. You're in that field.
yeah.
But I also know you have affiliations with the PDP. Yeah. You know, during this period, I wonder the issues in the tribunal. Do they have any inkling on your comments, or let's put it the other way around? The fact that your party feels that the person in power now, quote unquote, stole the election, or you know,
yeah,
does it affect how you view his decisions and how he is working?
Yeah. In that cause, it was a representation. But if you check my opinion, I think election had gone and come and gone. So whatever that is happening in the tribunal shouldn't affect the process of governance. The president is on his toes. Is our president today? I don't think if I'm going to fill any form, I will say no. We are waiting for a president. He has been sworn in. Everything that's supposed to do to have a president has been done. There is no lacuna in the space. And what we are checking today is spirit of movement, sincerity, purposeful activities to showcase good governance. Every writing is in speculation. The tribunals are on quite well. If the case proved that yes, the mandate was stolen, so be it. We now also wait to see what will happen. But for the now, we are seeing and we are saying that we are seeing a national government that is doing perfectly well for the now. So where it kickstarts itself is when you begin to appoint ministers, and we now see who mans what position, because that's the level of execution. That is where policies that are made meet execution. That's where projects and everything will begin to be carried out. So for now, those areas they are touching it very well, but we're constantly waiting for the appointments of ministers, people that will execute all the laudable pronouncements and projects that this government is coming with, and so on and so forth. So if peradventure or unfortunately the tribunal decide otherwise, I think I keep saying that all the persons that contested 2023 elections are competent. They are very competent, and then the spread was there. We have the Yoruba candidate, we have the Hausa candidate, we have the Igbo candidate. So the three major tribes are fully represented. So what they are looking for in the tribunal is to get an interpretation to the mandate, if it was duly done or it was manipulated. If that be the case, and then it comes up, the court is also there to interpret the next step. But for the now, we think and we are very satisfied that Senator Ahmed Tinubu is really hitting the nail on the head, and the drive is swift and cool.
All right, that's fair enough. Before we talk about that spread and the candidates, I'd like to remind our viewers out there that our phone lines are open, so you can now call in to make your contributions or ask your questions. You spoke about the other candidates, so I'm wondering, when it comes to appointments, what are the expectations, and is there any thought that the talks of a unity government should be considered, even as we know that there are issues in the tribunal? You know, we've been hearing talks. You mentioned Major Hamza Mustafa. It was the AA presidential candidate. Yeah. So what do you feel about that concept of the president reaching beyond party lines to form a government? And what exactly do you think we should be looking at in the ministers that should emerge?
Well, one issue with this process is that is disturbing is the aspect of the lingering legal tussle, even when the president has been sworn in. We want to see how they can really check into this matter and bring back tribunal issues before swearing in. After the elections, we have a couple of days, I think 2 months or so, to May. So we think litigations within that said period should be curtailed and handled, so that if a president sitting, all matters are concluded, and the sitting president wants to get that word unity government correctly, every other person would have been satisfied with total satisfaction that the court down to the Supreme Court had done justice to the issues, the political issues surrounding the elections. But you can bear with me today that nobody, we've not grown or matured to that stage where the man in the tribunal with you want to accept you to run a unity government with him. This is a very great and silent problem or issue with the process. We want to see after the elections, the tribunal should commence. And within that period, February, that the elections are ending, down to May, these matters should be sorted out so that when a government comes, look at a fantastic idea, fantastic candidate such as Peter Obi, a fantastic candidate such as Al Mustafa, or are you going to talk about Atiku Abubakar? They all have a lot to give to the progress of the country. But the problem is that as at the time the government is running, they are busy. It's going to almost take a year or so. They will be in the tribunals trying to sort out if the process that brought in the government is correct. So I think if we work on that, then we can easily achieve unity government. I don't know if Al Mustafa is Major Al Mustafa is in court, but if he's in court, definitely will not be able to. He's a defeatist already. All right, to accept a unity government this time. All
right, Mr. Dick, let's just hear from one of our callers before we go ahead. Good afternoon. This is the POLITY. What's your name and where are you calling from? Hello. Good afternoon. Can you hear us? Oh, seems to not be responding. Please, if you can hear us, do well to respond. Well, in the meantime, I believe the Action Alliance actually has withdrawn its case from court. But, you know, so that aside, you've answered the question now on unity government. So I guess it is a good idea. Yeah. But the timeline of petitions and so on
is not allowing that to play. Yeah, exactly.
So in the meantime, Nigerians out there listening, because you've been in the sector, in the field, you are aware of a lot of things. What do you think people should be looking out for when ministers are being chosen, perhaps even through the screening in the National Assembly? What should an average Nigerian look at when saying this is the person that has been picked or selected for Minister of Education? What do we look out for and we say, okay, this is a good decision or not?
Okay, the first thing I want this administration or the presidency to do in their nominations, they should be categorical about what position. If, for instance, they say Duke Alamboye is nominated for president, they should give the portfolio. So that when I'm being screened in the assembly, I will be tossed on those areas. So
who should present that portfolio?
The presidency, as they are presenting the names, nominees for this thing, they should add as possible portfolio. That does not restrict the National Assembly from going out of it. For instance, if I studied economics and I've been put to be a minister in the science, maybe a minister of technology, of course, by my qualification, I may not know anything about technology, but maybe in practice, what I've been doing to survive in life is promoting technology. So these are two opposite sides of me. So the legislature will also be left with to say, okay, well, he's an economist, but this is what he also do, and then try to see within those two areas how to take a balance. The problem has always been that they go to nominate these persons for ministerial appointment without attaching portfolio or without attaching designation, that is prospective designation, that is a focused designation for you to say. And the assembly just sit down there, interview you based on your CV that is there, and that's where they end. Number two, we want to see an assembly that will do thorough.
So sorry. All right, let's hear from this caller. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Yes, please. This is the POLITY. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Kaduna.
What's your name, please?
My name is Dada.
All right, please go ahead.
Yes, we thank God the type of government that we're having. To me, I've known Bola Ahmed Tinubu as a good person, and he's a progressive person. It's a person that will take Nigeria to a great position, and I want all Nigeria to support him. We are going to be brought to a promised land.
All right. Thank you so much for calling.
Thank you.
All right, please.
So this is one way. The legislation should not do their colleagues, but they should do thorough screening and have them discuss issues around respective ministries they perceive them to be, so that we don't want to see this take a bow. So when the minister goes there, he's not liable for anything. Nobody knows what aspiration he has. He is going to handle a sector of the economy that needs development. So we've not seen him do any commitments. We've not seen him promise anything. We've not seen him talk even. The area is going to be administering for 4 years. We didn't see him say anything. He just went to the National Assembly, took a bow and left. So when he gets into office, he does anything he likes and acts on his own whims and caprices. So we want to see a thorough screening. We want to hear respective nominees for the position of ministerial appointment to tell us exactly, if I'm saddled with the responsibility of this ministry, this is what the reforms I'm going to bring in the ministry. This is how I'm going to impact to assist the government of the day fulfill or achieve its set goals and their obligations. So these are the things we want to see around the ministerial appointments. Thirdly, we want to see persons that will be nominated should be technocrats, people that understand the issues in our country, so that, which I'm sure with the way the president is going, I'm sure that is his target. We're not seeing him talking, we're just seeing the actions dishing out themselves gradually. You'll be surprised names we will see on board for ministerial appointments. So,
but there are also politicians on ground.
When I say technocrats, I'm not limiting it to politicians. There are some technocrats that are into politics because they feel playing politics is the best way to having these things done. Like somebody like Belema Oil is a technocrat, is a master in his field. Somebody like what you call Tony Cole, who contested for APC gubernatorial candidate, is a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece on his own field. But they have also joined politics because they believe that through politics they can gain governance. So these are
I'm referring to those now who have worked for the president, but might not necessarily have technocrat leaning. But they've delivered words, everybody have his specialty. The people have voted Tinubu to become president for Nigeria, not for their personal gains. However, there's also personal gains in politics, where you also have the payback system or the reward system to appointment, so that you can also have everybody that is playing politics have one specialty or the other to do. But for the position or for the post or the reputable position as ministers, because this is where Nigerian problem is always coming from: the ability to execute and execute properly, the ability to allow the legislation see oversight functions on executions, and know that this thing we are appropriating, funds we are appropriating, laws we are making, are followed in the process of getting the target goals and aspirations of the government. So this is where the crush of the job is, and we want to emphasize that people that knows the onion should be placed there, should be nominated for the position of ministerial appointments, so that the legislative arm will also have less job to do. When there are competent people standing before them, the screening process will be so interesting, because you hear people talk and discuss development. The ministers, their jobs, the job they have to do in the lifetime of an administration is to develop the content. They are the people that put to practice what the mindsets, the aspirations, the dreams, the goals of a particular government is. So they are the people that execute projects and whatever thing that is going to be the basis for comparison for any government. All right, that's fair enough. Let's move over to another major topic of discussion for today. You're from the Niger Delta region, so there's been an issue recently with a former militant and the head of a group in the Niger Delta, talking about Mr. Dokubo.
Yeah, he's a freedom fighter. He's not a militant. Yeah,
former. That's why I said former. Yeah.
Former freedom fighter.
Former freedom fighter.
Yes.
Okay, the militant is the wrong word.
Yeah, I don't know what you thought they militated about, but they were freedom fighters. Yeah.
All right. So he has accused the military of being involved in crude oil theft in the region, and there's been this back and forth that he should prove it and so on and so forth. What's your take on the matter of oil theft and the scale of it, and how it's possible, where people say that if it's this massive, it has to have involvement from those who are meant to do the job of protecting it? What do you make of these allegations?
Well, I I really don't wanted to talk on this issue, but I think as a Niger Deltan, I should have a position, and as a leader, a youth leader in the country, I should have a position. Now, this is how it plays. First of all, I blamed past presidents, past administration that have not really taken a look at the issues of oil theft. They've played politics with the issues of oil theft. So therefore, it is involving everybody. It's a huge business. There's a lot happening there. There's a lot of money that is money making that is going on there. So the military you're talking about, the boys that are perpetrating this acts you're talking about, they are human beings and they need survival. This is why when the issue of modular refinery came on board, we supported it. We wanted to see it work, because that is the only way. The amount of money they make from producing local oil, local products and all of that within that their range, and not the only issue they have there is not getting the crude in a direct measures. If not, what the activities they are carrying out, most of the patronages you see in the south are these locally made products. So the ability for federal government to give it attention to convert these boys for meaningful and legal production is what is the problem. So you see, when you post a military man to the Niger Delta, they also analyze these things. I don't want to say totally correct that they are part of it. Part of it in allowing the boys doing the project, the illegal act, is it part of it removing their face, or is it part of it also investing in it? These are the questions line. These are informations I do not have, but on a common sense, what I think is that it's a means of survival too, an illegal means of survival, however, unfortunately. But when you post a military man to that place, it's also helpless, because the boys are also equipped. The boys, you will see that this is a surviving business. So the ability to fight someone that is surviving on something, however illegal, it becomes a little bit uneasy, and then the kind of unrest it will cause. Everybody, both the military or concerned persons, are a little bit skeptical about how they handle Niger Delta issues. No, that is where the treasury of Nigeria is. Nobody wants to go there and assert total force or this thing on the boys, or on things that are happening there. Everybody is trying to be diplomatic on how to see how they can bring these boys out of it. The first recommendation was cool and clear: modular refineries. Resuscitate these boys back to the society, teach them how to get these crude oils in the right direction, project their minds towards good refined and standard product refines, and then they will get it right. You've given look at the likes of Dangote has built a very, very big refinery in the country. We can bring those things down to modular refineries, and I think they will act very well. Limit their production level. If they can do what they call the kerosene, which is KI, what they call, I think that is okay. Then you return back those other products back to the system that can be used to produce other things. If governments concentrate and do all of this, we will not be sitting down blaming the military or blaming the boys for what to do. The responsibility still lies in the hands of government, and until they critically look at it, if you drive those boys from the creeks of these illegal activities, which is normal, which is constitutional, which is the right thing for government to do, where are you taking them to? They will bounce back to the society and become criminals, because they don't have any right to do except that. But let us put into consideration that they've also made efforts to process their mind towards something productive. So it's best for government to convert the productivity of those boys to legal framework. And what is the legal framework there? Provide modular refineries for them to function very well. Make them come to cartels, make them come to groupings, so that they can afford. Open a financial loan system for them, so that they can access loan and do this job legally. Go to the IOCs and acquire crude, come process, limit their production to kerosene or first or second product of the crude, and then so that they can also return back the other remnant to the system, where a bigger production exploration company can take them. So when you do that, you also solve the issues of environmental pollution. So I don't want to join my hands or join my voice to say, begin to asperse blame. Or we, even in society, we the Niger Delta youth are also the problem. The military is the problem. We are also the problem. So you don't expect you post a military man to the Niger Delta zone, he comes to cause chaos instead of solving the issues. What we are discussing is huge. This is huge. So it's not a matter of if the military is at fault or the Niger Delta youth that are trying to survive from what they perceive as their own national endowment. So the best way is that government should be deliberate to call these stakeholders. Thank God, I'm very happy for the set of what they call military persons they put it. I think there's a clear cut. There's a very clear cut to this. They've given surveillance to what's the Tompolo, and for a while now we've seen the good job, fantastic job he has done in the region. It has drastically reduced, but that is not enough. Guiding them or blocking them from this, spending that huge amount of money for surveillance. Those monies can be directed to training these boys, providing soft loans for them, providing the enabling grounds for them to operate modular refineries, limit their production to whatever first or second product refines. They would return back those products into the system for the larger exploration companies to take over. I think this is the best way to go, other than beginning to sit down to blame the military or blaming the boys or whatever.
Right, that's fair enough. Now let's talk about some of the decisions you mentioned earlier. Since we're on the subject of crude,
yes,
you mentioned that President Tinubu has started well. Now a number of these decisions are leading to some level of immediate hardship for Nigerians. How do you think perhaps there is another way this could have been done? Just rolling out a couple of them. We have the removal of fuel subsidy,
yes,
which has led to hiking prices of transportation, because of hiking the PMS itself.
Yes.
Now, following this, there's been an announcement that the 7.5% VAT on diesel will kick off, or has kicked off, is about to kick off, which would also rise the prices of AGU in the market and for industries and so on. That's the second one has an increase in price. Now, also the unification of the exchange rate, even though it's a float, so it can go up or down, there's still some level of fluctuation with that. But at the end of the day, the key issue here, the common factor here is that the payment, and also taking it to the issue of
tariff.
Yes, and then one more thing, the student loans that are coming, there are speculations that is an indication that there will also be more increase in school fees.
Yeah.
And there's still one more. It's quite a lot, which is the speculations of a 40% increase in electricity tariff, which you mentioned. So these things combined, Nigeria is, number 2 on the list of poverty countries in the world. And all of these things are coming at once. How can Nigerians cope, and when can we start to see the benefits to pay off for the sacrifices that are being made by the common man?
Yes, I think it's sad, the situation we find ourselves, but it's still in the right direction. All this hardship you've mentioned is just going to be for a short while. Now listen, we have agitated, we're still agitating that there should be the minimum wage should increase. If you increase minimum wage and you've not standardized what the government is doing, they're trying to standardize these factors, because it's the same factors that will affect the rise or the demand when at the time they will raise the minimum bar. If they don't put all these things on check and they raise the minimum wage, what will happen is that it will be inflationary. So what government is doing is deliberately putting those figures, checkmating them before they raise your income. So when they raise your income, you are only mashing up expenditure level. Again, when they do that and they beef up production, it will not have its basis again. It will not drastically begin to force itself. The force of demand and supply will begin to bring those prices down. We are not buoyant. I hope you are aware that there is no money in the treasury to run the country. So what they're going to do, what they're trying to do is to tax the system, get the system stabilized and standardized. It will be difficult for a common man to understand what government is doing now, but in the short run, what we begin to see, as of today, the dollar is dropping. The dollar to the naira is dropping, and that's because of these indices that are playing out. They affect the level of demand and supply. So when you raise this tariffs a little bit to a reasonable height where it cannot be influenced by forces of demand and supply, in a case that your revenue increases, it becomes stable. I'm aware that the president is having intention to diversify oil consumption. They are checking the diesel, the possibility of bringing the diesel into play, even for industries. They are checking the possibility of even solar, so that the concentration on petrol, PMS, will reduce, and this will drastically encourage the system to balance. Let us give this a chance. It's just for a short while. I used to use a simple analogy, and that is to say, if we want to break this out, want to get a befitting studio for this company, the implication here is that we are going to demolish this building or this room, and that will cause lots of inconveniences. But the conveniences, you know with me, that is going to be temporary. So you begin to see yourself squeezing yourself at some point to do your program, or prevention not even doing the program, and then your viewers begin to murmur. But by the time you come back, you would have come back to the system well equipped, well standardized, and having a viewer, a better production, so to say. So this is exactly what the government is trying to do at a time in a few period. Very soon, I think July or so, Dangote will start producing, and his products will spread. Crude oil sales will still be directed to him, to that company again, and it will really help the economy. So it's unfortunate, like I started with, but I think they are in the right direction. We should just bear with the government to see how the sincerity of the government is showing without them saying a word. It's showing fantastically. This morning I was talking with someone, and he was saying that he liked the set of people around the government, the president now, especially to mention. He said Bajabi and Miala, because these are very sharp brains, articulate guys that know what it is, and they are seriously speaking to the art. They've tested executive powers, they've tested legislative powers, so they know the issue. So I think they're speaking to the conscience and the aspirations of the government. So I think if they continue this way, with Akpabio that have joined the legislative side, they put their force together, I think they will take this country far within 2 or 3 years into the administration.
All right, that's fair enough. You've spoken about minimum wage.
Yeah.
Now we know that organized labor and the federal government have agreed on an 8-week deadline to handle all issues, to implement the resolutions, and from the demand of labor. I wonder, what do you think? What's your input here? Your suggestions as to some of those things that could be discussed and agreed upon, that you feel will start to make the hardship and the issues seem lesser or manageable?
This is the first time. This is the first time Labour gave up consent to the federal government, and I think there are clear indications. The federal government didn't take only the responsibility. The Labour Union also took a responsibility to go and check how we can get a very good line. So this federal government, I told you, they are very articulate. They didn't say it's our responsibility. It's everybody's responsibility. In these 8 weeks we're talking about, Labour is also going to come up with possible suggestion on how they can diversify those consumptions. Heavy weight of consumption, since the subsidy is removed, we are seeing how less the consumption rate is. So they are still going to dig further to see how they can reduce it by employing other products to checkmate or to check, what rate of consumption that can be applied. What are the possibility of using A and B to subsidize this internally? When they do that, the plea of Labour will be settled. It's not magic that when they will say, oh no, you must bring it down. When they bring it down, government begin to struggle. No, this time around, everybody hands is on deck, trying to profile the solution. While federal government are doing their own, NLC is also putting, another organized laborers also putting their heads together. In 8 weeks, they will come together and see where they can draw a better line for Nigerian citizens to survive life easily.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Alamboye. It's been a pleasure having you on the program. I hope to have you back sometime soon.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
All right, that's how we close the program for today. I'll leave you now with some updates to get you up to speed with happenings in the country. I'll see you once again. The POLITY reaches you every weekday, 2 p.m., 3:30 p.m. from Abuja. Have a nice day. See you tomorrow. I am Amadin Ogbewe.